The ceiling light flickered, humming faintly as if the old police station itself were sighing with boredom. The interview room, just concrete walls, a metal table, and two mismatched chairs, felt colder than winter. The air carried a bitter scent of burnt coffee and disinfectant. In the middle of it sat 15-year-old Amara Lewis, her legs pulled close together, fingers tapping nervously against her knees. She wasn't crying, she refused to, but her throat ached with the effort of holding everything in. Officer Kellen Moore, a thick-necked, sandy-haired man with a permanent smirk carved into his face, leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. Two other officers hovered near the door, amused spectators. "So," Moore drawled, "you want to run that by me again?" Amara swallowed hard. "I said, my mother is a 4-star general. General Helena Lewis. She'll be here soon." Moore let out a loud, booming laugh that echoed off the bare walls. The officers near the door chuckled, shaking their heads. "A 4-star general?" Moore repeated, wiping fake tears from his eyes. "Sweetheart, people make up all kinds of nonsense when they're trying to dodge trouble, but that one, wow. Points for creativity." "I'm not lying," Amara whispered. She kept her gaze on her shoes. Her uniform, navy blazer, white blouse, pleated skirt, was spotless. Whenever her mother came home from overseas, she'd always fuss over Amara's appearance. "Presentation is a reflection of discipline," she would say with that calm yet commanding tone. Tonight, discipline was all Amara had left to cling to. Moore pushed off the wall and slammed his hand on the metal table, making Amara jump. "Look at me," he ordered. She lifted her eyes. "You were in a store after closing," he said. "That's trespassing." The manager found the back door unlocked, saw motion on the cameras, and called us. "And you expect me to believe you just, oops, got locked inside? Give me a break." "I was buying something for my mother," Amara insisted. "She's coming home from deployment tonight. I lost track of time." "Sure," he mocked. "And let me guess. The store owner tucked you in and read you a bedtime story too." She clenched her jaw. Moore glanced back at the officers. These kids, always lying, always playing the victim. His gaze slid back to Amara. "And the whole 'my mom is a general' thing? Come on. I've been in this job 22 years. Never met a black woman in uniform above sergeant, let alone sitting pretty with 4 stars. Amara flinched as if he'd slapped her. But then, a faint vibration hummed through the floor. The officers didn't notice it. But Amara did. Because she knew that sound. It was the deep rumble of approaching military-grade engines. A tiny spark of hope flickered in her chest. Outside the police station, the night was split open by the sound of heavy tires rolling over asphalt. 3 matte black SUVs pulled into the lot. They stopped in perfect alignment. Doors swung open in synchronized motion. Boots hit the ground, 12 of them, step after step, moving with the precision of soldiers who had memorized every detail of this mission. Not one word was spoken. At their center walked a tall, sharply poised woman in a tailored service uniform. Her chest glimmered under the dim parking lot lights, not with medals, though she had plenty, but with 4 silver stars, positioned neatly at her collar. Her expression was unreadable. Her presence was thunder in human form. She was General Helena Lewis, commander of the Joint Strategic Resources Command. And she was not here on a courtesy visit. Inside, Amara twisted her fingers together. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Moore continued his rant, pacing back and forth like a restless dog. "Look, kid," he sighed dramatically. "I'm trying to help you. Just admit you snuck in. Say you were trying to take something or whatever. We can work with that. But lying, that's not a good look." "I'm not lying," Amara snapped. It was the first time she raised her voice. Moore's eyes narrowed. "Watch your tone." Amara sucked in a shaky breath. "Please. Just call her. Call my mom." Moore scoffed and reached for the landline, shoving it toward her. "Go ahead," he mocked. "Dial this 4-star general." "I'll wait." Amara stared at the phone helplessly. "I don't know her number by heart," she admitted. Moore's laughter was instant. "Convenient. Real convenient. It's in my cell phone." "You took it," she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. Moore rolled his eyes. "Of course it is." The officers near the door snickered. Moore stepped closer, leaning down so his breath brushed her cheek. "You know what your problem is. You think pulling some made-up military title out of thin air is going to save you. But lying only makes things worse." He paused, looking her up and down. "And making that your lie," he sneered. "Way too pathetic." Something inside Amara broke. Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes, but she squeezed them back. "My mom," she whispered, "is really coming." "Sure she is," Moore said sarcastically. "Why don't we all just sit tight and wait for Jen?" His words were cut off by a sudden, heavy thump. It echoed down the hallway. The sound of a door slamming open. Then footsteps. Not rushed. Not panicked. Just steady. Purposeful. Dominant. The kind of footsteps that commanded rooms long before the person even entered them. Moore frowned. What the hell? The officers at the door straightened subconsciously. Something inside Amara, something fragile and frantic, finally unclenched. The interrogation room door swung open. 2 military police officers stepped in first. Then came a man in a Navy suit, General Lewis's personal legal advisor. Then she appeared. General Helena Lewis filled the doorway with an ease that radiated authority. She wasn't tall, but her presence made her feel towering. Her uniform looked immaculate despite the miles she'd traveled. Her expression was as solemn as a storm at sea. Moore froze. Literally. His breath hitched. His pupils constricted. He stared at the 4 stars on her collar as if they were burning holes straight through him. "W.H., who are you?" he whispered. The general stepped forward. When she spoke, her voice was low, calm, and unbearably controlled. "I," she said, "am General Helena Lewis, United States Army." Her eyes flicked toward Amara. "And I'm here for my daughter." The room seemed to shrink around them. Amara exhaled a shaky sob as her mother crossed the space and placed a hand on her cheek. "Are you hurt?" General Lewis asked softly. Amara shook her head. "Just scared." Helena nodded once, turning to face Moore. "Officer," she said, "explain to me why my daughter was detained illegally, interrogated without a guardian or attorney, denied a phone call, and mocked for stating the truth about her parent." Moore's throat bobbed. General, I didn't. There must be a misunderstanding." Her attorney placed a folder on the metal table, snapping it open. "No misunderstanding," he said. "Your officers confiscated her phone, but did not realize the open line to her mother was never disconnected." Moore's face drained of color. "We have a complete recording," the attorney continued, "of your behavior toward a minor, including racial bias, unlawful detention, and verbal harassment." One of the officers near the door whispered, "Oh, shit." General Lewis didn't look at him. She didn't look at anyone except Moore. "You humiliated my daughter," she said quietly. "You degraded her. You assumed she was lying because it was easier than confronting your own prejudice." Moore swallowed hard. "General, please. I didn't know." "That," Helena cut in, "is the problem." Sergeant Whitaker, the station supervisor, rushed into the room, his face pale as chalk. "General Lewis," he blurted, I assure you, we'll handle this internally." "No," Helena said. "You won't." The sergeant froze. "My daughter called me from inside the store because the employees locked up without checking for customers. She attempted to contact staff. She attempted to contact emergency services. She followed every protocol." The attorney nodded. "Video footage confirms all of it." Helena continued, "Your officers did not follow protocol. They did not notify her guardian. They detained a minor without legal cause. They confiscated her belongings without logging them. and they targeted her based on racial assumptions which are now documented. The sergeant looked like he might faint. Moore tried again. "General, with all respect." "Respect?" Helena's tone sharpened. "You laughed in my daughter's face." He flinched. "You told her that people like her mother don't exist," she continued. "You denied her humanity before you even heard her explanation." "General Lewis," the sergeant stammered, "please." She raised a hand sharply. "Stop." Everyone went silent. Helena turned toward Amara and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Come stand behind me." As Amara moved, she caught Moore's expression: panic, fear, realization. For the first time since she entered the station, she felt safe. Helena faced the officers again. "This precinct," she declared, "is now under federal review." The room erupted in shocked whispers. Moore collapsed back into a chair, trembling. But what the officers didn't know, what Amara didn't know, was that Helena's fury was not only about tonight. It was about history. Their history. She stepped forward, looking around the room. 20 years ago," she began, "my father, Samuel Lewis, died in the custody of this precinct." The room's air was sucked out. Moore looked up sharply. Amara's eyes widened. Helena continued, each word deliberate. "He was arrested while walking home from work. Accused of loitering. A crime that doesn't exist. He died in his cell that night. Your records listed it as a heart attack." Silence. "But the autopsy," she said, "revealed head trauma consistent with blunt force impact." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "I was 17, Helena said quietly. "I promised my father that I would rise high enough to confront the systems that let this happen." Her eyes fell on Amara. "And I promised myself that no one would ever treat my daughter the way they treated him." Moore whispered, "General, I swear, I had no idea." "That," she said again, "is the problem." A swarm of reporters gathered outside. Lights flashed against the windows. The police station had become ground zero for national attention. General Lewis stepped forward. "Officer Moore," she said, "you are being taken into custody. Pending charges may include unlawful detention of a minor, abuse of authority, willful misconduct, and civil rights violations." Moore's knees buckled. He collapsed into the chair, his hands shaking uncontrollably. The military police approached him. "No, wait, please, just let me explain. I didn't, General, please." Helena didn't look away. "You didn't just doubt my daughter," she said. "You doubted every black child who has ever walked through your doors." Moore sobbed as the MPs took him by the arms. Amara watched, conflicted. It wasn't joy or victory. It was relief. A heavy, overdue exhale of truth. Twin Bridges police station looked nothing like its former self. New leadership, new oversight, new policies, new training programs. General Lewis oversaw them all. Officers were held accountable. Records were audited. Old cases were reopened. And slowly, very slowly, the city began healing. One morning, Amara visited her mother's temporary office inside the Civic Administration Building. Stacks of files covered the desk. Photographs of her father sat near a small flag. Helena looked up as her daughter approached. "You okay?" she asked. Amara shrugged. "I still think about that night." Helena nodded. "So do I. But," Amara continued, "I'm glad I told the truth, even when no one believed me." Helena smiled softly. "Telling the truth is easy when the world listens. It takes courage when it doesn't." Amara sat beside her. "Do you think Moore will ever—" "I don't know, change?" Helena paused. "I hope so," she said honestly. "Accountability is the first step. Understanding is the second. Acceptance is the last." Amara leaned against her shoulder. "For what it's worth," she whispered, "I'm proud of you, Mom." Helena's eyes grew wet. "I'm proud of you too, baby. You stood tall in a room designed to make you feel small. That takes a kind of strength people can't teach. They sat together as sunlight filtered through the window. 2 generations. 1 legacy. And a future rewritten. The next week, at a community forum, Helena stood at the podium. People packed the room: officers, families, activists, students. Amara watched from the front row. Helena spoke. Change begins when silence ends. My daughter refused to be silenced. And because of her courage, an entire city is waking up. She paused, scanning the room. May we never again doubt a child who speaks the truth. May we never again assume a lie because of the color of someone's skin. And may we never again allow prejudice to hide behind a badge. The room erupted into applause. Amara felt her chest swell with pride. For the first time, she fully understood her mother's stars. Not as symbols of rank, but as symbols of responsibility. As the applause continued, Helena looked directly at her daughter. Her voice lowered, but Amara heard it perfectly. You reminded them, she said, who we are.